Welcome in to Locked On Knicks. Alex Wolf here. I am going solo today to break down the Knicks' loss to the Suns. They fall 118-97 at home. It was never pretty. The Suns really just looked like a team that had won 14 straight games and was looking for their 15th. And the Knicks just kind of at a certain point just gave it to them. So I'll talk about it more in just a sec when we get into it on Locked On Knicks.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome in to Locked On Knicks. I just wanted to thank all of you for always making Locked On Knicks your first listen, whether that is on your favorite podcast platform, which we're available on all of your favorites for free, or on YouTube, where we're now streaming video. That's right, you could see my beautiful face right now, or maybe you don't think it's beautiful. I don't know. Either way, judge for yourself. Go subscribe on YouTube. Maybe drop us a couple likes. It's much appreciated. And it's helping us out with something new we're trying with the video aspect. At any rate, I'm Alex Wolf. I'm editor-in-chief of Knicks site, The Strickland, which you can find at thestrick.land. I think I'm still full from Thanksgiving dinner 2 days later, or a day and a half, I guess I should say later. And I'm not at all full or satisfied from this Knicks loss to the Suns. Of course, I said in the intro, 118-97. If you watched it, thanks for suffering along with me. If you didn't miss too much. I can safely sum it all up for you here in this little podcast here. So, I think here's the first thing. The Knicks ran into a buzzsaw in this game. The Suns had won 14 straight games coming in. There was all these quotes before the game from Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton about how much they love playing at MSG, how they always get up for these games. Tell me if you've heard this one before, especially this year. That opposing player X loves playing at the Garden and is ready to have a career night there. Hey, go figure. I mean, they didn't have career nights, but Devin Booker had 32 points on 14 of 27 shooting. DeAndre Ayton had 14 and 13, 14 points, 13 rebounds, only missed 2 shots, going 7-9. I mean, they did their thing, and the Suns did their thing. They looked like a team that's won 14 straight games, that was going for their 15th, which is a pretty significant milestone. That is looking to prove that last year wasn't a fluke, that won the Western Conference last year in pretty convincing fashion. I mean, I think the Suns are legit, and that should come as no surprise to anybody based off what we've seen from them so far. The Knicks just ran into a team that has their stuff figured out. I was going to say something a little more colorful, but in case you're one of the people that listens with their kids in the room, I'll hold my tongue there. But the Suns have things together, and looked like a team that is a well-oiled machine from top to bottom, starting lineup, bench unit, everything. The Knicks still obviously are figuring things out. They also were without Derrick Rose, who's a huge catalyst off their bench. I'll get to that in a minute. They were without Taj Gibson, who probably would have been really useful tonight because Nerlens Noel looked really hobbled. I'll get to that in a minute as well. But I'll talk a little bit about the first quarter first. It was actually pretty encouraging. The starters actually looked pretty good, I thought. They were finding pretty good shots. Fournier started off really hot again. Made, I think, 2 or 3 3-pointers in the first quarter, which he didn't do too much beyond that. I think he actually made all 3 of his threes in the first quarter. I could probably pretty easily look that up, but I'm in the middle of recording a podcast, but screw it. I'm a professional. I know how to talk and stall enough time for me to pull up the first quarter score here. And that is true. He was 3 of 3 in the first quarter, didn't hit another 3 after that. So Fournier essentially, just completely blew whatever energy he had in the first quarter of the game, and then was not able to really hit anything from there on out. RJ Barrett kind of did the same thing. While I've got these first quarter numbers up, RJ was 2 points, 0 of 2 in the first quarter, but he did hit some other shots at points in the game. He went 2 of 2 in the second quarter, which maybe looked like things were turning around for him. He did manage to hit a 3 in the third quarter, but then shot pretty poorly other than that. And that was kind of just the case for the Knicks in general in this game. It was, I don't really think that this game was like a huge. It wasn't determined by like one huge run. Let's put it that way. It was just kind of a death by a million cuts. There was one point where the Suns scored. I think by the time all was said and done, like 9 or 12 straight points, something like that. And that was obviously kind of a backbreaker. That was in the second quarter, if I'm not mistaken, when they sort of made that little mini run that sort of put them out in front by a good margin. But then, beyond that, they just kind of kept doing the thing that good teams do, which is keeping the Knicks at arm's length. Like, if you look at each individual quarter, the Knicks didn't really lose that badly if you want to look at it that way. For example, they lost by 6 in the first quarter, 7 in the second quarter, then just 4 points each in the third and fourth quarters. So, taken individually, that's like, oh well, that's just a bad quarter, they could come back, but they just never did. And then you obviously, if you give up 6 plus 7, that's 13 points in the first half, and then 8, and then oh look, you lost by 21. So it was just kind of one of those games where things just kept compounding. The Knicks weren't ever able to really make that run to push them to the next level, and you know uh, make an actual comeback out of things. Also, I should note too, like the bench was kind of struggling to hit shots. I think that this game was a pretty good referendum on like Derrick Rose and how much, especially against good teams, the Knicks really need him off the bench, and just how valuable that chemistry is between he and IQ, and he and Obi, and he and pretty much everybody that comes off the bench. Burks too. I mean, they especially that trio, Rose, IQ, Burks. They seem to have a really good chemistry together. And the Tibbs actually inserted Quentin Grimes in there for some of those minutes that would have normally belonged to Rose, which then gave the reins to Quickley as the point guard. That actually went quite well. I liked a lot how Quickley did as the point guard, which I'll get to in the next segment. But, you know, Rose's absence was really felt in this game, I think. I think the Knicks were missing that tempo pushing, but beyond just that, just like another person to feed Obi Toppin in a productive way on his lobs, and those like long passes and transition and stuff. And I just think that there was something missing in that bench unit, and they weren't really playing well outside of IQ. And Burks played pretty well too, but like Obi really struggled to get going. And as good as Obi and IQ's rapport is, I think that Obi and Roses is maybe even better. So I think that was definitely missed. And then, I already kind of mentioned, but Noel was just really kind of a train wreck in this game, not playing super well. So, Rose was sorely missed. Hopefully he'll be back soon with that. I think it's sprained ankle that he's dealing with right now, but he's definitely needed back on the team sooner than later, because they really are missing him at this point, I think. But I'll take just a quick moment to remind all of you that today's episode is brought to you by betonline.ag. And it's Thanksgiving. The copy says it's Thanksgiving. I'm going to say it's Thanksgiving weekend. And we all know what that means: football. And nothing goes better with football than turkey and betting. In this case, turkey leftovers. BetOnline has you covered all holiday season. More props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this Thanksgiving weekend. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus with promo code LOCKEDON to receive that bonus, again, at betonline.ag. And it's not just football. BetOnline has pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, even your favorite Vegas casino games. So don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. BetOnline, we're stuffed with deals this Thanksgiving weekend. All right, so getting into the next bit here, I wanted to talk about IQ, and I mean, Immanuel Quickley is he's just proving game after game at this point that he needs more playing time. Tibbs needs to find a way. I know that there's a big time logjam at the positions that Quickley would presumably play. You have Evan Fournier, who you paid a bunch of money this past offseason, to the tune of $18 million to be your starting shooting guard. You have Kemba Walker, who you signed as your marquee free agent, even though he's making, the least amount of money, or not the least, but like a low amount of money relative to what he was making before and what he was previously valued at. You know, he's a big name that is expected to start and get a decent amount of minutes. You have Derrick Rose, who you just paid, another guy, big name brand recognition. It's hard to totally, want to displace him in favor of the second year player that you got coming off the bench. But like Immanuel Quickley has just played so well at this point. It's, to me, it almost feels akin to like, the Jazz, for example, did not, keep Donovan Mitchell coming off the bench once it was readily apparent his rookie year that he was, a superstar in the making. You don't like put baby in a corner there. You let them play and you let them get better, and maybe you let them take a few lumps here and there and have some inefficient shooting nights or whatever, but you just kind of bank on the fact that like, yeah, like this guy, he might be flawed because he's only a second year player, but he is giving you so much on the court right now that it should be impossible to justify giving him less than like 25 to 30 minutes a night. And yet in this game, despite being behind for a good deal of it, which kind of would have opened the door for, more run for Quickly, because you just kind of be like, well, all right, relatively low risk. I mean, Tibbs even like threw the flag in, or threw the towel in early, waved the white flag. I'm mixing metaphors or mixing sayings, whatever. But like, Tibbs threw in the towel or waved the white flag early in this game by putting in Kevin Knox around the 8-minute mark and then going like fully bench unit at around the 4-minute mark. So that, Deuce McBride coming in probably robbed Quickly of about 4 minutes there. But even so, he only played 20 minutes. And so that means at most, even if Tibbs would have rode him for those final 4 minutes for no reason, he would have only had 24 minutes for the game. And that just doesn't seem like enough. I mean, I feel like IQ is, I think he's played himself into that conversation of sort of like RJ Barrett last year, for example, where, yeah, RJ was a second year player, but he had a guaranteed spot in the starting lineup and pretty much a guaranteed like 30 to 35 minutes a night, almost nightly. And at worst, he would get like maybe 25 minutes. And I feel like Quickly has kind of played himself into that spot. It sort of brings up that discussion again of, if Quickly was taken with the 8th pick and Obi was taken with the 25th pick, how different would how they're treated and looked at, by it seems like people on the team or within the team, like Tibbs and the other coaches, front office, whatever. How different would the opinions be if he wasn't looked at more like found money instead of, if he was taken higher in the draft, being looked at like a crown jewel, you know what I mean? And I don't think that they don't value him. For example, I don't think that he's like that. They're like, oh, well, he's only a 25th pick, so he's worthless. But I do think that he's being sort of held back in a way by the fact that he was drafted where he was. And so they're like almost trying to bring him along slowly, I guess, but he's ready. He's ready to rock like right now. So why not just start giving him more minutes? He's one of the players that is most consistently affecting winning on the team. At this point, I mean, Kemba Walker has been pretty humble throughout this whole situation. I think Kemba, is self-aware enough and enough of a vet to realize that he's struggling. Why not throw Quickly in the starting lineup for him at this point? I've already advocated for this like 2 or 3 times on here, but like, do it. Just do it. Just put Quickly in the starting lineup and start giving him like 25 to 30 minutes a game. And then let Kemba figure his stuff out and split time with Derrick Rose. Then maybe you also give them more opportunities to have rest days so that they can feel healthy and like they're contributing to the team. And then maybe, just maybe, Kemba and Rose both are in good shape by the time you hit the playoffs. IQ is, fully seasoned as a starting point guard on your team with Julius Randle, who he probably plays off of better than Kemba does. And, then you have this situation where you have an abundance of talent at your point guard spot, and you can sort of sub in whoever's the best out of Kemba or Rose on any given night as the backup behind Quickly. I don't know. To me, it doesn't make too much sense to continue going how things have gone, just because the Knicks starting lineup, I mean, again, I think tonight was productive for them. I think that they looked all right. I think they managed to hold serve with the Suns for a while, but I don't think that they necessarily like inspired me or anything to think like, oh yeah, they've turned the corner. This is it. Eventually they faltered and eventually they stopped hitting shots again. And go figure. I mean, it wasn't all their fault, but the Knicks lost the game, and the starters looked entirely outmatched. And yes, it was the Western Conference champion from last year, a team that won 2 games in the NBA Finals last year and was the favorite going in. So maybe you read into that how you will, and they're probably going to be a contender in the West again this year. So maybe the Knicks just got blitzed by a team that's firing on all cylinders right now. But I think that there's a case to be made that a shakeup could still be worth trying at this point. I think that, again, I haven't even gotten to Quickley stats yet, but like he had 16 points, 4 assists, shot 6 of 9, was 3 of 6 from 3. He truly embraced running the point in this game. Like, he didn't take that lightly. He was trying to set up others. Those 4 assists were very emblematic of his effort. I mean, 4 assists in 20 minutes, that equates out to roughly like 6 or 7 per 36 minutes, which is great. Also, he's back to almost a point a minute, which was like his hallmark last year of being able to come in and score you like almost a point per minute. I think that he's got to get a bigger role at this point. He's playing good defense. He's arguably playing too hard on defense at times, where he's overhelping on things and running around the court so much that guys almost don't know how to react, because he's covering for their butts so many times that guys don't even know where to go then. But it's Quickley is doing all the little things. Kemba, there was at least 1 or 2 times in this game where, I mean, on offense he cooked a bit. I'll talk about it in a sec, but he had like 10 points in the third quarter. Like, he actually looked decent on offense at times in this game, but he also was giving some of it back on defense. There's one play in particular that stands out in my mind where he and RJ, were involved in a pick and roll. I guess it was, I'm trying to think who RJ was covering at that particular moment. I think it was, I think RJ was on Booker, and then Kemba was supposed to switch onto him on like a pick and roll situation, because RJ did a pretty good job on Booker, which I'll get to in a minute as well. But Kemba was supposed to switch and at least give a contest on Booker, and he didn't. And RJ wound up having to like bound over towards Booker to try to even get a hand remotely in his face, and got there late naturally. And, Booker then wound up splashing a 3, and it just wasn't pretty. And, you don't want a player out there that even at their best is still kind of giving up some stuff on the other end when, the offense is so fleeting like it is with Kemba right now. And Quickley is not doing any of that stuff. And is just generally playing good all the time, and deserves more time, I think. But I'm going to go ahead and take my second break here and get us through all the breaks here. And it is the most wonderful time of the year, Black Friday weekend. And Built is going all out to make this Black Friday weekend the most delicious Black Friday that ever was in the history of Black Fridays. There are going to be new limited time Built Bar flavors, new types of bars, and a winter wonderland of a deal. You want high-end deliciousness at a discount? All through Black Friday weekend, you can get at least 20% off everything, anything and everything at Built.com if you enter promo code LOCKED20. We've got some new flavors as well. And let me tell you, I got my little sample pack and I tried these, and they're all really good. There's a new flavor, Ruby Chocolate Puff, which I don't know if you've ever had a puff Built Bar, but it's like a big old marshmallow covered in chocolate, but like the marshmallow actually has protein in it, and it's crazy. I don't know how they managed to do this. It's marshmallowy goodness. It's covered in a unique ruby chocolate. It's never been done with Built Bar before. There's dark chocolate, white chocolate, and now there's a ruby chocolate Built Bar. Ruby chocolate has a beautiful rose color for the holidays, and it's an actual type of chocolate that has like a sort of berry taste to it. It's very good, very unique and delicious. There's also a lemon dip cheesecake puff. I love lemon for sure. If you love lemon cheesecake, you'll love this one. It has a tangy taste of lemon with sweet cheesecake and a marshmallowy puff texture, all covered in chocolate, and it's just fantastic. And there's a Built Bar Bar Built Crave Bar. A Built Black Friday weekend isn't complete without the word free. If you buy any box of Built Bars through Sunday and get 2 of the brand new bars, which is the lemon dip cheesecake and the ruby chocolate, you get Built Crave for free. Built has finally done it. They've come up with a candy bar that is a great alternative to the bar that claims to satisfy. I can't legally say what it is, but you know which one it is. It's caramel flavored chocolate loaded with peanuts, giving it that nutty, chocolatey, oh so good sweet candy bar taste. The Built Crave bar has only 160 calories with 17 grams of protein. There's no candy bar that's even going to come close to that. And uh, I can tell you the Built Bar version of that popular candy bar that you might be thinking of is fantastic. It tastes so similar to the thing that I can't say legally that might leave you satisfied, as they say. So there's no need to fight angry crowds, no need to camp out for hours. Your best Black Friday deals are at built.com. Tis the season to save and give your taste buds the gift of Built Bar. Again, you get 20% off Built Bars and 2 free Crave Bars, all at built.com. Plus, you can get 60% off Built Broth and Built Boost and 40% off Built Swag. Just enter code LOCKED20 at built.com. All right, and with that, it's now time for a little bit of housekeeping. I got like one more segment, probably like, I don't know, 10 minutes tops to go through this because I don't feel like talking about this game too long. So first off, props to Devin Booker. I mean, this was like an insane display of shot making. He had 32 points, 14 to 27 shooting. He got some open looks. I think Fournier was guilty of giving him a few. Kemba, as I mentioned, gave him at least one of them. But like RJ Barrett, for all of his flaws scoring the ball in this game, really tried to give Booker the business on defense. And he had some beautiful possessions against him defensively. There was one that stands out to me. I forget. I mean, the Knicks made a couple mini runs in this game where they got things back down to around like 10 points. And it looked like almost a point where things were going to turn up for them, and then it just didn't, because the Suns would just make another 3 or 2 or 6 and just bury them again. And one such situation came, I think, in the third quarter. The Knicks were kind of making a run, and things were getting a little close. I think it was when Kemba was having his like scoring outburst, and RJ was defending Booker, and he defended him so perfectly. Booker was like isoing on him. RJ wasn't biting on anything. He, stuck to Booker like glue. Things look great. He gets a hand up in his face. I don't even know how Booker got the shot off cleanly, if we're being completely honest. And Booker just splashes it. And it was just like, it was such a backbreaker. You could hear the air kind of come out of the garden on that one, because it was one of those situations where the fans were getting ready to cheer RJ on for his great defense. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, everything just fell apart. And, it's just kind of emblematic of how Booker's night was. 32 points, 14 to 27 shooting. I mean, got to give him props where it's due. I'm not like a huge Devin Booker fan or anything, but he's a really, really talented scorer, and he definitely brought the bag to this game. So I already mentioned Kemba actually looked pretty good on offense. The 10 points in the third quarter was really good. The only problem, and I alluded to this already, so I won't beat the point to death, but it seems like he's really got to be scoring at a high level to be a plus right now. And the scoring has been so inconsistent for him. It's like it's almost like he can't find his way scoring unless he's sort of just like being the offense. If he's not in control of the offense, he's having a really hard, like, I don't have his pull-up stats in front of me, and maybe this is something I'll bring up for a pod, like maybe for Monday's pod or something after the Atlanta game tomorrow. But like, it seems like he's not doing great in spot up situations and situations where he's not just like pulling up for 3 or, getting inside or pulling up for a mid-range shot or whatever the case. Like, it seems like if he's not creating the offense, the offense isn't, there's nothing really to be spoken of. And that's kind of a problem. Like, you can't have a player out there that pretty much has to be scoring to be even like a neutral, for example. It just is not a great business strategy. So we'll have to see how things end up going in that regard. But I hope that things improve for Kemba. Though I'm fully on board with just making the change at this point, throwing Quickley in the starting lineup, because I think we're starting to really see something special out of Quickley, and I would hate to squander that in favor of just playing Kemba for as much as we are. Julius, I thought really just not a great game by his standards, especially 9 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 of 8 shooting. He seemed kind of overly passive, overly deferential. The main thing too, I noticed, I mean, he really got bothered by Jay Crowder. They were kind of getting into each other's business all night. Jay Crowder has a way of doing that, and you kind of just have to be prepared for it. And it's not like Randall's never played against Jay Crowder in his life before. And I certainly don't think he's never been matched up against him before. I seem to remember him being matched up with him last year against the Suns as well. Um, so I think that Julius just needed to try to be a little more aggressive, and instead he just kind of kept, Crowder plays a good style of defense where he stays in front of you. Julius didn't seem that interested in trying to like go deeper into his bag to try to pull out, not that they've always been great for him, but like a spin move or a particularly fancy crossover or, just trying to get a burst of speed to get around Crowder. It kind of just seemed like he deferred to just like, all right, I'm just going to take some pull up shots. And that's fine. I'll pull up from mid range a few times and whatever. Whereas recently we've been seeing him like at his best, he's all over the place. He's crashing in for offensive rebounds. He's getting putbacks. He's, cutting to the rim to try to get, some makes that way. He was running a little bit of pick and roll, pick and pop, whatever recently. And I just felt like we didn't see that much out of him in this game. And it was just one of those where he felt kind of uninspired. And, it's just, you can't have those out of your guy that's supposed to be your star player, and you can't have him be so bothered by someone like a Jay Crowder, who's, an annoying role player, but ultimately just that, an annoying role player. He can't be the guy that completely puts your night off and, makes you completely ineffective and not useful on a basketball court. Like you're getting paid like a star, and like that is your role in the team, and your team looks to you. So like you need to really just kind of, if you're Julius Randle, try to beat that guy, try a little harder to get into him, try a little harder to like start some stuff with him and, talk some junk and, get riled up, and maybe your team will follow. I felt like that was sort of part of the problem in this game. RJ also, he played okay at points, but he fell back into the slump. He shot 3 of 10. For as good as I thought he was on the defensive end on Booker, he really wasn't good on offense, which I guess just kind of goes to prove like he's very different from, say, Kemba Walker, where if Kemba is not working on offense, you're getting nothing out of him. At least if RJ is not playing well on offense, you can still get pretty good defense on the other team's best wing player. And like as good as Devin Booker was in this game, I feel like that was more a testament to Booker than it was to RJ playing bad defense or something, because I thought he had a good game in that respect. I also just kind of wanted to give Tibbs some props for being willing to throw the towel early, and not play the starters all the way till the end of the game in a game that was clearly a lost cause. When you're down by 20 with 7-8 minutes to go, maybe just put some bench players in and just let them get some time to play. So the first such one was putting in Kevin Knox, and then shortly thereafter, a few minutes later, put in Jericho Sims and put in Deuce McBride. And then you also had Quentin Grimes out there and Obi Toppin, and that was your closing lineup. And cool, that's great. I mean, I wish that Tibbs would do that more often in some of these sort of lost cause games. Granted, I know a lot of some of the heartbreaking losses the Knicks have had, they've been sort of in it into the fourth quarter, and then it just kind of falls apart there. And there's also been a couple times where they almost made comebacks this year, to be fair. But this game just all along just kind of felt like the Suns were the cat and the Knicks were the mouse in this game. And it was not a Tom and Jerry situation. It was a real life situation where the mouse had no shot. So it was smart, I think, of Tibbs to sort of make those moves and put, the younger players in, because you're on the first game of a back-to-back. So keep your guys' legs fresh, even in IQ, or some of the younger guys, keep their legs fresh. If maybe don't keep Obi's legs quite so fresh to where he only plays 14 minutes, including a lengthy stretch of straight up garbage time to end the game. He didn't get to play a ton of productive minutes in this game. So maybe, don't rest the young players that much, but like taking IQ's, day-to-day health into account. I dislike that he had 20 minutes, but I wouldn't have wanted him to have the 24, because that final 4 was useless. The minutes that Deuce played, and it got Deuce some time, in an NBA game. So I wish IQ would have been playing more earlier, somehow, and still been able to play 25 minutes, and then had he played those final 4 minutes, that would have been close to 30. That would have been a great total for me. But it was good of Tibbs to do that. It was also kind of funny, like, to see Monty Williams on the other side. He kept, I mean, again, your team is on a 14, about to be 15 game winning streak. he kept all of his starters in, like Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, I think Jay Crowder too, and I think I don't know who the other like starter is, and I think McCall Bridges, yeah, McCall Bridges, and kept them in, or maybe had Cam Johnson in for one of those guys or something, but kept like his core three really key players, Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker in like until like around 2 minutes left in the game. And I just was looking at that and I was like, it's kind of weird to be on the other side of this for once. I mean, Tibbs sometimes it's even more understandable because it'll be like a 10-point lead, and we've seen the Knicks give up a 10-point lead in 2 minutes before pretty easily. So I can understand that. But like the Suns were toying with the Knicks the whole time, and it wasn't like Cam Payne wasn't smoking them off the bench too, or Cam Johnson wasn't smoking them off the bench, or myriad of other guys off the bench for the Suns weren't playing well. Their bench did great too. The whole team was great. So I don't know why Monty Williams was afraid to throw the bench guys in there, but it was just kind of funny to look at another coach who also has reputation. Like he was playing for the Knicks back in the Jeff Van Gundy and like Tibbs years, and even had like a nice little anecdote at one point. He had been asked about prior to the game that they aired during the game about how rigorous the practices were back in the '90s and all that stuff. I guess it's just kind of interesting to see someone else with that same philosophy that we kind of get mad about all the time. I also, very last thing, I'll just say, Wally Zerbiak was on the call with Mike Breen instead of Clyde. Clyde had a day off. Clyde, I hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving and you enjoyed your day off. I sincerely hope you're back tomorrow, though I get the feeling you're in St. Croix for the weekend. But my God, Wally just never shuts up, and it was really annoying. I feel like I've never heard Mike Breen less in a game that Mike Breen called than this particular game, and I don't it worries me so much that Wally Zerbiak might be the heir apparent to Clyde, because the quality of MSG broadcast is just going to go so far down. And it's not a knock on, well, it's a knock on Wally. I mean, I think he seems like a nice enough dude, but I just don't enjoy his style of commentary. Anyway, all right, this has been Locked On Knicks. I got nothing else to talk about. I can't believe I've talked for this long, quite frankly. So thank you all for listening. We'll be back on Monday. I think it's going to be Gavin and I again, so something to look forward to. Both of us back together. And we'll be talking about the Hawks game and maybe a little bit about the week ahead, and then have some great shows for you guys next week. So thank you, everybody, for listening. Happy belated Thanksgiving one more time. Happy Black Friday and all that good stuff. And hope you all got some holiday shopping done. I will talk to you all on Monday. Peace out, everybody. Talk to you soon.